Kyle here from allmediareviews.blogspot.com, and this is part two, just to space these out a bit, of the albums of the year countdown. So I left off at 24 with Watchtower, so this is 23. Let's get into the vinyl now. I Am the Morning's Lighthouse record, which won an award at the Prague Awards, and the truth is I pre-ordered this because I love their last record, Belighted, and I listened to it the first day, and I was expecting to just love it, and it was kind of a sleepy record. I mean, I didn't hate it. It was, I Am the Morning, sort of a Russian band, like a duo, doing progressive rock on the K-Scope label, and they're classically influenced. Do I have a CD in here? No, it's just an insert. Classically influenced, whatever, with like a lot of chamber and Baroque instrumentation. But I revisited it like a couple weeks ago and was more impressed than I remembered with it. The title track was one of my favorites. I thought the guy from Anathema was on here, but this features Maria's Duda, which I think he might be from Riverside. That title track, but good flow to it. They make these records that are not long. I wouldn't say I would put it ahead of Belighted at this point, but I'm feeling better than I did. I almost was regretting buying this because it wasn't cheap, but I want to support them, but it wasn't to buy a vinyl. But I'm enjoying this more than I remembered when I first heard it. Chalk and Coal and some of the others. I Came Before the Water Part 2. It's very dreamy. At some point it has some good dynamics. I think the second half actually grabbed me more than the first half, and I can understand now, at least to a point, why it won at the Prague Awards for Album of the Year. Personally, it's not my Album of the Year, obviously, but... So moving on, that was number 23. Number 22, another K-Scope label release, Nosound, Scintilla, another record I checked out. It came out like in September. Listened to some of it and didn't get back to it. I listened to it again, and it's very dreamy. I like Nosound. They're a band, it's one word, who do this sort of ambient, dreamy, surreal, spacey kind of... It's rock music, but it's almost like post-rock, but it's very... I mean, you could say influenced by early Porcupine Tree or who would else to compare to? Like Chroma Key almost to a point. It's very dreamy, but this record flowed really well. The Scintilla, a lot of good samples, and some of the recurring themes and even melodies come back. And it's not too long. It's like 35-40 minutes, so... especially, I was really in the mood just to kind of relax that day a couple weeks ago at work, and it just totally worked. So yeah, thumbs up on Nosound, Scintilla. In fact, if I can find a vinyl of that at some point, I want to see if I can track that down. I mean, go online and find it. They had it. I don't know if they issued it on vinyl, but if it ever does come out, or if it is, I may have to try to pick it up. British Theatre is 21, which I have a copy of right here. The debut album from Mike Van Aert and Gambler, the more electronic side as opposed to the Van Aert band, the band Van Aert. And this is the debut album, and it's actually signed by both of them, I believe, it looks like. I'm a big fan of Mike Van Aert, of course, Ocean Size, and of course they put out EPs a couple years ago. And this record, the truth is, overall, I think I might have shown it. I can't remember if I showed it when I got it in. This record, I guess in a way it's like a little bit like Pain and Exile in that I thought I was going to get just totally floored with it, like the way that the Demon Joke I was last year from Van Aert. And I didn't quite, but I did enjoy a lot of it. I wouldn't call it a much of a disappointment. I just guess the style reminds me of like OSI or a little bit like Nosound, but it's heavier at points. But there's really very little guitars on this record, just clear vinyls. Yeah, I mean it's pretty different. But you still have Van Aert's vocals, which are sort of a trademark style of his. But I think there's a song called Gold Bruise. Let's see here, Gold Bruise, Cross the Swords. Some of my favorites on this record. The Cull. It flows pretty well. Capro is another one I really liked. And the title track, it's called Mastery. I didn't even mention the name of it. Mastery. The only real downside is I thought I was going to because I got attached to that Van Aert record last year. I thought it was like, this is going to be another one I'm just going to get attached to. And I guess I didn't because it the electronic side, because it's like a 45-minute record or something, didn't lend to as much repeated listening. It still did, but not, not obsessively, and so. But I think, I still need to go back to it. I haven't listened to a lot of these records since the spring, that included, so. But anyway, moving on to I was 21, number 20, The Return of the Monkees, the first album in 20 years from the Monkees, including with Michael Nesmith, and some of these are old demos. My favorite track on this record, and I showed this in another video, is The Accidental Hipster, I believe. Birth of an Accidental Hipster. But like the Me and Magdalena is sort of the token single from the sort of the hipster crowd, and actually I prefer the version that came out, the faster sped up version, but I still like it. It's Nesmith, of course, with Mickey Dolenz, but of course the songwriting, that was Ben Gibbard who wrote that song, but you have the likes of Andy Partridge, who wrote You Bring the Summer. She Makes Me Laugh was written by Rivers Cuomo. Noel Gallagher, and I think it was a collaboration, wrote that song, Birth of an Accidental Hipster. And I'm not even a fan of Oasis, but, the title track is good from Good Times. This is Good Times if I didn't mention that before. Love to Love, which is a song that was on one of the collections that my wife knows, of course, that much. But that's a Davies song, if I'm not mistaken. It's pretty consistent track to track. There's highlights, of course, but there's not a bad song on this record, and that's why it ended up, probably higher than I would have ever expected. To have the Monkees release a new album, and it ends up at the 20th best on a blog like mine. So, but it helps the fact that my wife is, one of the biggest Monkees fans you'll ever meet, and she's competitive about it, of course. Oh man, I'm doing a great job here. So moving on to number 19, it's Dream the Electric Sleeps, new album, Beneath the Dark White Sky, I believe. And like some of these other records, I was really excited for it. It came out. And I do enjoy a lot of this. It does remind me of Oceanside. There's one song specifically I'm probably not going to remember right now, but pretty cool looking vinyl. It's gray. But, man, if I want to name specific highlights from this record, Let the Light Flood In, Culling the Herd. Some of these songs are like 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes. It is progressive rock of a sort. Like I said, it reminds me of Oceanside. It's their last record, which I'm spacing on the title right now. I probably would lean towards still enjoying more, but this is a cool record. This is a progressive rock band from Kentucky. I think it's Kentucky or Tennessee. I'm pretty sure it's Kentucky. Dream the Electric Sleep. Yeah, they're both that stain. But, yeah, just from knowledge, Drift, let's see, Let the Flood In, looking at the titles. Yeah, the Culling the Herd, that song gets heavy at times. The one thing I guess I can say about this record that stood out to me, and maybe was slightly disappointing, is on the previous records from them, the singer, Matt, I can't remember his name if it tells on the back here. And I can't read it. Of course, it was produced by the guy who produced the last two Rush records, Nick Raskulinez, if I'm saying that right. I'm probably not. But, let's see here. Here it is. If I can find Matt Page. It's the same singer, but he sounded like Jimmy Necco and Judah Nagler from the Velveteen. This record, he doesn't. His voice is a little different, if I'm not mistaken, and it's not as high pitched. He didn't do as much falsetto on this, which, disappointed about his vocal style. It's not bad. It's not like Murder by Death, where the vocal style came to turn me off, but yeah, Beneath the Dark White Sky coming in at number 19. Number 18, going back to last December, the return of SikTh and their Opacities EP, and after seeing them live a few months ago, I've come to appreciate this even more. I love this album. I would compare SikTh's compared to SikTh's other records, it's hard to really compare, but Philistine Philosophies, Under the Weeping Moon, Walking Shadows, if that's the one I think it is. Oh, there's a quiet section, that like a really melancholy section, and it's just dreamy as hell. It's maybe one of the best things they ever did. One of the best moments of any music of the last 12 months, for that matter. Behind the Doors. It's, 35 minutes of, experimental bliss. There's a such thing. So, but yeah, I love SikTh. Even though they're an extreme metal band and they're very odd at times. There's even some Monty Python-esque vocals, like narratives, talking about walking the street and everything like that. But yeah, no, this is pretty damn close to their other records, and this is only an EP. I don't know if there are mini albums, like 30 minutes. A lot of the records on my list are 30 minutes, if you've noticed. So, all right, moving on. Number 18, really doing a good number on this. I'm just going to start stacking them on the side because they don't want to stay up, and vinyl records are not, of course, great to be falling down on the floor. So, yes, Warpaint's Heads Up, number 15, which I skipped ahead. I skipped 2 ahead, so Warpaint's coming up in a minute. Let's see here. 17's Ideology, progressive metal, slightly extreme metalcore band from Minneapolis. The drummer now, Charlie Engen, is now the drummer from Scale to Summit, actually. But that's beside the point. This album, they've spent many years. He worked with people he went to college, the music college in St. Paul here, Minnesota. But I would say that this album ended up being more complete, more enjoyable, more impressive in a lot of ways than the record from Pain and Exile. Not that I don't like it, but it's in the same kind of style as Pain and Exile or Native Construct. But yeah, it's not a short record. You can stream the whole thing on YouTube. It's Ideology, and Bandcamp. You can pick it up there. So, I mean, it's a Minnesota band, so maybe I have a slight bias. But again, he's the drummer from Scale to Summit, for what that's worth. Anyway, that was 17. 16 is Avenged Sevenfold. The first Avenged Sevenfold album I was really impressed by, really since probably Nightmare, probably before Nightmare, probably City of Evil, actually. There's a title, it's called The Stage. I think it's the title track, the last track, at least. It's like a 17-minute progressive rock epic. They went full-on prog at points on this record. I was shocked how much I enjoyed this. I just checked it out a couple weeks ago for the first time. People were raving about it. It came out in October, so it hasn't been out that long. But potentially I could say this is their best record, actually. It's their most progressive for sure. So, all right. Now I can move on to Warpaint. Warpaint, third album, Heads Up. A good comeback for me because I wasn't crazy about their self-titled album. The hit New Song was the first song, and it's catchy, it's danceable, it's very earwormy, and probably still my favorite song on the record. I did show this in the video, so I won't show it again, but otherwise, this is a very consistent record. There's only 1 or 2 songs that was kind of like, eh. I think it was the song Dre, maybe. I think that's one of the towards the end. The title track is good. The Whiteout, the opening song, a lot of good bass lines, little baseline led tracks. It's very, the energy and the flow of this record is excellent. So, but I'm not going to go into that many more details about it. But it's great to see them return. I love the debut album, The Fool, back in 2010, and then I loved the Exquisite Corpse EP even more. Dreamy, sort of female led. Of course, they're all girls, they're all women in this band, but the mood, the kind of climaxes at points, it had a lot of it in it. It's a record, track to track, it works. I enjoy pretty much every track on here, from Don't Let Go to Above Control to Today Dear. So good. I kept on thinking of that Mayor Hawthorne song, So Good, when I see that. So, alright. Well, we'll stop. I'm going to have to do this in 4 parts, I guess.